Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. Welcome to the best gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news channel on YouTube. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC and on Android with Yuzu, and Yuzu just released their progress report. We're going over it at a pretty high level, and if you wanted to check it out in detail, I'll drop a link in the description below. So this month we've got a whole bunch of bug fixes and performance improvements, and this is the final piece of Project YFC, the query cache rewrite and the implementation of host conditional rendering. So at a high level here, the lantern in Luigi's Mansion 3 is fixed, the level of detail in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is fixed when using high GPU accuracy, no more tree flickering. And rendering in games like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is fixed when using high GPU accuracy. Low particles in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 are fixed when using high GPU accuracy and disabling asynchronous shader building. Shadows in Metroid Prime Remastered are fixed. And there's a performance increase here for low-end and/or power-limited hardware in games like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Luigi's Mansion 3, Super Mario Odyssey, and more. On top of that, rendering issues in grass and bushes in Red Dead Redemption are now solved. There were also a number of pretty big GPU improvements, for example this one here, which is a major overhaul for GPU ASTC decoding for both OpenGL and Vulkan. This results in Vulkan decoding performance by about up to 60%. And OpenGL on NVIDIA running 15 times faster, which is absolutely insane. If you're into modding, Yuzu added support for Skyline framework, as well as Acropolis modding framework for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. As for eShop titles, this month there's a whole bunch of games that are now running or perfectly playable, and they include Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, and a whole bunch more. For Yuzu on Android, there are a whole bunch of improvements here, including adding the ability to make this work with emulation front ends like Daigisho, and they added the ability to create dynamic app shortcuts so users can make per game icons if they wanted to. And on top of all of that, we've got UI improvements, audio improvements, a bunch of bug fixes, and more. The Yuzu team had an absolutely massive month. I recommend checking out this progress report. It's a very interesting read. But moving on, and next up we're talking about emulation on the Nintendo Switch with pEMU, and pEMU just got a brand new update. This is the first update for pEMU or pEMU in over a year, and at the time of filming 6.7 is the latest update. I should also point out that pEMU is not just for the Nintendo Switch, and in terms of systems it emulates, we've got NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, and Neo Geo. It is free, it's open source, and I'll drop a link to the GitHub in the description below. And speaking about GitHub, next up we're talking about Gopher2600, which is on GitHub, and this is an Atari 2600 emulator that just got a brand new update. So Gopher2600 is written in Go, and at the time of filming version 0.25.0 has just released. In this version, we've got some performance improvements. It is available for Linux and Windows. Next up, we're talking about Pokemon, and today Pokemon Yellow is 25 years old, and interestingly enough, it's also Bob Wolf's birthday. And it appears that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's brand new DLC is having some massive performance issues, specifically regarding frame rate. It is not running well on the Switch at all. Honestly, if you're using Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC in Yuzu or Ryujinx, let me know in the comments below and let me know what the performance is like. I'm wondering if it's better than the Switch. Moving on, and we're talking about the Steam Deck, specifically modding, and Western Digital has just released some brand new NVMe SSDs for it, and also for other devices that use this size. The sizes available are 500 gigabytes, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabytes, starting at $75. Admittedly here, there are some cheaper options out there, and I'm still just using a micro SD card in my Steam Deck, but at the same time here, if you're looking for a quality drive, Western Digital might be the way to go, might not. Let me know in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Unity, and we talked about Unity yesterday, and the fallout for Unity continues on today. It has not been a good couple of days for Unity PR. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if this is real or not, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some indie games just straight up not be available for sale once those January 1st fees kick in. I'm hoping this won't be the case, and I'm hoping Unity decides to change their stance. I wouldn't want to see some great indie games just become unavailable. Next up, we're talking about Starfield, and today Bethesda gave some very good news as to what's going to be coming soon to the game. We've got brightness and contrast controls. I would argue those should have been there from the start. HDR calibration menu, again, should have been there from the start. Field of view slider, again, should have been there from the start. You can see the theme here. NVIDIA DLSS support. Official DLSS support, because you can get it unofficially. 32:9 ultra-wide monitor support. An eat button for food. On top of that, they say they're working closely with NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel on driver support. And each update will include new stability and performance improvements. As for built-in mod support, creations as they're calling it, they say it's going to work similar to Skyrim and Fallout 4, and they're planning for full support next year. Next up, we're talking about a brand new emulation front end on Android. It's called Beacon Game Launcher. And this one just launched. It's $6.99 in Canada. It's a little cheaper in the States here. And the story behind this one is interesting. The person said they weren't satisfied with how current launchers looked, so they created their own. That's really about it. If you're currently using an emulation front end or game launcher on Android, let me know in the comments below which one you prefer. Do you prefer something free like Daigisho? Or do you prefer something like Launchbox or Reset Collection or even Beacon Game Launcher? Again, let me know in the comments below. And last up here, we're talking about a brand new PS5 update that's pretty big. And this is from the Sony PlayStation blog. It says PS5 update rolls out globally with new accessibility, audio, and social feature enhancements. In my opinion, one of the biggest takeaways here is PS Remote Play support on additional Android devices. Starting today, the PS Remote Play app will be available on devices running Android TV OS 12. And that includes the 4K Chromecast with Google TV. On top of that, they added support for larger capacity M.2 SSDs up to 8 terabytes from 4 terabytes. And as a bonus piece of news here, if you're on Linux kernel 6.4, you might want to update. Linux kernel 6.4 reaches end of life. I'll drop a link to this article in the description below. And as a bonus piece of news, when I was editing this video, I realized I forgot to talk about something absolutely massive. And we're talking about Nintendo 3DS emulation on a whole bunch of different platforms with Citra. We've talked about this one in previous videos, and now it's finally here. Citra Nightly version 1989 introduces the Vulkan backend. The Vulkan backend has now been merged. To check this one out, head to citra-emu.org and click on Download, or click on Download here. And then click on Manual Download, and then under Nightly Build you can pick it up for your platform of choice. Android, Linux, Mac, or Windows. By selecting the Vulkan renderer in the settings, you may notice some games play a little bit better. Maybe things are loading better. Maybe things are playing a little bit faster. You may have to check this one out for yourselves. Massive hat tip to the Citra development team for accomplishing this. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.